But welcome to an episode, brand new episode of Obscure and Unscripted. I couldn't think of a better way to start October than to have David Madison. You guys would notice or might know him as a director, producer, actor, Mr. Hush, Weekend of Fear. David, how are you?
Oh, I'm very well, and I'm actually humbled and honored to be your very first guest on the show. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm kind of curious how it came about. We're all familiar with the movie Mr. Hush, which we're going to touch base on in a little while. But how did that turn into the event that you've been doing for the past, 5, 6, 7 years?
Yeah, the first Weekend of Fear took place in 2010, but I don't have them every year because sadly I'm either working on films or writing television shows or working on television shows. So I try to do them, when time allows. But they're an enormous amount of fun, and I really, really enjoy doing conventions because it's a great way to meet people and to meet other actors and filmmakers and directors. And I just love everything horror and Halloween. So it's just the love and the passion of it. The first Weekend of Fear came about literally to promote Mr. Hush before it came out. So I thought, what better way to promote a small indie horror film than to have it have its own convention. And there we had the Mr. Hush Weekend of Fear, the first one.
I actually pulled the wrong picture up. That was my mistake. Sorry. That's great. And Danny, I know you have a few questions for David, so take it away.
Hi, Danny.
Yeah. Hi, it's so nice to meet you. I'm a huge fan, so it's an honor to actually get to speak with you. I love Mr. Hush, one of my favorite movies, and for being an indie film, it does not come across that way. It comes across like a higher budget film.
Oh, thank you. So you're the one, huh? You're the one fan I have?
Oh my goodness, I love that movie. I love it. I'm blown away that you have Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees all in the same movie, and Fright Night. I mean, the cast alone is so incredible. I guess my first question is, how did you get into filmmaking, and how long had you thought about Mr. Hush before you decided to sit down and write and direct that movie?
Well, I had a very, very interesting career. I started off as a celebrity bodyguard. I worked as security details with the Secret Service for people like Jerry Brown when he was running for president. And I always said to myself, before I turned 40, I wanted to make a motion picture. So at 38, I realized that time was ticking away, and I sat down and I wrote Mr. Hush, and I was actually very proud of it. I was quite proud of it. So at that point, I took Mr. Hush and I sent it to my friend Stephen Jeffries, who's Evil Ed from Fright Night and Hoax from 976 Evil. And he was in that close range, and heaven help us. I mean, he has an amazing, amazing resume. He also, what a lot of people don't know, he's also was nominated for a Tony Award for a show he did on Broadway. Amazingly talented guy. He's also a marathon runner. He just did the New York City Marathon, I think 3 or 4 years ago. And in a side note, in his age group, he beat Marc Messier, the great hockey player. So this is all useless information, but I find it relatively entertaining.
I love that. That's amazing.
I sent it to Stephen, and I asked him, just as a friend, what did he think of the script? And he thought it was really fantastic. And I said, hey, Stephen, would you do the film? And without hesitation, after reading the script, he was on board. Then I reached out to Brad Lurie, who many people know as Michael Myers from Halloween Resurrection. He also was Stryker in X-Men 2 and was in a whole bunch. I think he has like 100 IMDb credits to his name. And I thought he would be the perfect lead for the film. So I said, hey, Brad, I sent him the script. And after he read the script, he was super excited and decided to come on board too. And then when we were rounding out the script, we needed somebody who was kind of like a rough around the edges, kind of like tough guy, and I thought, who would be better than Jason Voorhees himself, Steve Dash? So I gave Steve Dash a call, sent him the script, and luckily he came on board too. So it was just kind of all the stars aligning at the right time to make a cool little B movie that we made up in the woods of Milford, Pennsylvania. But you know what's really funny about that film? What's great about that film is that when I was making it, I was just trying to make my whole idea behind the film was to make a contemporary reinvention of 80s horror films. Now, a lot of people got that and dug the movie, and a lot of people thought it was supposed to be like a contemporary film and didn't. So I appreciate that you love the movie. You know, it has a cult following, and a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't. But it's a, you know, I'm honored. Another thing about that film that really blew my mind is that every year the Academy of Motion Pictures Arts and Sciences in Hollywood, they have something called the Margaret Herrick Museum. And every year they only choose 50 films to put in their core collection, which is their collection of films that will be preserved forever. And in 2012, Mr. Hush was one of the 50 films that were chosen to be put in that core collection. So I was honored and humbled for that.
That is incredible. Well, it really, I got the traditional slasher feel from it for sure. But one thing that I thought really set it apart from other films I had seen was that your characters, you really drew the audience into the characters and their backstory, and you made people kind of fall in love, with Brad Lorry and and what he had gone through. So within the first 10 minutes of the movie, I was really into where he was going to go and what was going to happen. So I really loved that. You don't get that in a lot. A lot of slashers are, it's just right away people are getting cut up and whatever. And that really wasn't the case. It had definitely had its horror and its gore, but it definitely drew you in first, which I loved about it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. When I was making the film, I always thought horror films that were ever interesting or particularly good, gave you characters that you could either relate to or that you cared about. And this way, when something, happens to them, either good or bad, you're invested in them and, it feels like a payoff. In a lot of contemporary films, they just show you somebody who's attractive or half naked or young, and they kill them in the first 30 seconds. And it's a visceral thing where you're just seeing violence. And I mean, there's a place for films like that. I think people like that kind of films, but it's just not my cup of tea. I was trying to look back at what I loved, the era I grew up in, the 80s, and make a cool 80s horror flick.
I noticed that there was no nudity in that movie. I think, which absolutely blew my mind. It was really refreshing to actually get to see a movie like that.
Well, thank you. The distributor actually asked me to reshoot scenes to add nudity, and I refused to. The movie didn't call for it. It was supposed to be atmospheric. It was supposed to feel like Halloween. It was supposed to feel like an 80s horror movie, and there was really no place for nudity in it. So it was either take it for what it is, or I'll just put it up on Vimeo or something. But luckily, we were very blessed.
You did have a cameo in it, correct? In the scene where they're walking through and looking at the coffins, which had some comedy in it. I busted up laughing. That was super funny.
I play the casket salesman. Yeah. Well, what I'm most honored about that film is that it's the budget for most motion pictures, catering budget, is what we made that movie on. But a lot of people feel that it looked like a film that had like a $3 to $5 million budget, which I'm really honored at. And I think that things like my pal Huey Lewis in the News contributing the theme song, and Brad Lorry and Stephen Jeffries, and of course the great Brian O'Halloran from Clerks is in the end stinger scene, brought some incredible credibility to the film. And I think as time goes by, I think every year it develops more of a cult following. So I'm very proud of that movie.
It's incredible. I absolutely loved it. And I wanted to know too, what are your biggest film inspirations? Like when you first decided to go into filmmaking, what were the films that inspired you the most?
Believe it or not, my two favorite films of all time, they're very strange in what they are, is It's a Wonderful Life, which is a bizarre film being a guy who makes horror pictures, and Fright Night. And a lot of people say that Mr. Hush is like a contemporary companion to Fright Night, which is unbelievable. In fact, they just did an enormous 3-disc series that is about Fright Night that was released in England, and I participated in it because of the connection with Mr. Hush, which I thought was really cool.
That is super cool. That's amazing.
One question.
And then I had one more question for you. Sure. I know I was just so blown away by Mr. Hush. What do you think are the key elements in making a contemporary horror film? Or excuse me, a horror film like Mr. Hush, I should say. Not as much contemporary, but a mix.
I think anything that's worth watching has to start off being good on paper. And writing is super important. I'm a big fan of atmosphere and suspense, and of course, good performance always helps. Uh, as Mr. Hush was really my first foray into writing and directing films. Looking back at it now, I would, there are things that I would have done differently. But for someone who was, somewhat of a novice, I was extremely honored at how it came out and how it was received. Oddly enough, that movie spent 8 weeks on the DVD and Blu-ray top 10, and it spent 6 weeks on the Redbox top 10, which may not sound like that incredible of a thing, but with Redbox being the number one way that people rent Blu-rays and DVDs now, it's actually, it was quite a staggering number of people who got to see the film. Over 3 million people got to see that movie in 2012.
That's a huge accomplishment. That's a huge accomplishment, especially for a movie that, like I said, it comes across like it was made on a $4 to $5 million budget. I didn't have any idea that it was an indie film actually until later on when I started reading about it. Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
You know what I thought was really cool about it is that the day it came out, Ain't It Cool News, which was much more popular back when the film came out than it is now, said the headline was, Mr. Hush is okay, but not as good as Cabin in the Woods, which we both came out the same day. And I was thinking to myself, Mr. Hush cost like the sandwich budget of Cabin in the Woods. So just being put in the same breath with a film like that, I was pretty honored. I think when people review movies, they should take into account, the difference between a $60 million horror movie and a $60 horror movie.
Right.
But, I'm very happy, and there might even actually be Mr. Hush 2. We'll see what happens.
Really?
Yep.
So
my finger.
I'm going to be digging for an exclusive for that then.
Oh, absolutely. You guys come up to Pennsylvania and I'll have Mr. Hush gladly kill both of you in the sequel.
Nice. One thing I'm curious about, I don't see it mentioned a lot. I've been following your career for a while. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure the little girl in Mr. Hush looks familiar.
Oh, yes. Well, that was my daughter, Amanda, who is my pride and joy. And she... if the movie is 7 years old, so anybody who hasn't seen it now, I'm going to major spoiler ahead. She turns out to be the hero, of course. So, she's a wonderful, wonderful kid, and I'm quite a proud daddy.
That is very cool. Yep. It's got to be awesome working with your daughter and her whole new world kind of opening up.
Yeah, and she had a youthful exuberance that really came across on the screen and on a set, and everybody loved her. And it's funny because she's now in that film. She starts off at age 7 in the movie, and at the end she's 17, and now she's almost going to be 16. So she's almost caught up to the second part of the movie already, which is pretty kind of cool.
Time goes by too quick. She's definitely natural. She's got a really natural talent.
Oh, thank you. She's gonna make like a giddy noise when she hears this.
Well, I looked her up. I thought she was already in another famous movie, since she does look familiar and she does have that natural talent to her. So I was trying to figure out what I knew her from. So I'm glad that Joe asked that.
Well, I have a new film that's coming out later this year called Wit's End that she's in, so you can look out for that. And just an amazing film. I watched the film is 99% complete. It's just being scored. And as I watch it, I'm like, how the hell did I make this movie? It's just one of those things that everything, the stars aligned and everything came out really, really cool. And it's not a horror movie. It's a survival movie. It's kind of like that James Franco film where he gets stuck between the boulders and he has to cut his hand off.
Wow!
But it takes place where a loving family man, gets trapped in an enormous blizzard. So keep an eye out.
I live in Alaska, so I love that kind of stuff. I love survival and I would love to come up to Alaska. Come up and come visit us. We have a boat. We love to go fishing and be out on the water. I love that. Like Into the Wild, one of my favorite movies. I love all those survival type. That's like my second favorite horror. So I'm super excited to watch that.
How cool is this? I mean, I'm up on a mountaintop in Pennsylvania. You're in Alaska. Joe, where are you at?
I'm in Florida.
You're in Florida. So, wow.
Yes.
I mean, we're literally kind of like spanning the globe here doing this show. That's pretty awesome.
That's what we like, the mix of everything. And obviously, I've got a big gray beard, and Danny's 15 years younger than I am. So it actually works out really well. And yeah, having that mixture just flows for us. It's really cool. So I'm looking at pictures, and I'm kind of geeking out because one of the people you have coming to Mr. Hush Weekend of Fear, I have been a fan for most of my life. Oh, as a teenager, especially at TNT Monster Vision.
Oh, yes.
I saw that you got Joe Bob, and I was just like, wow.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Bob is unbelievably knowledgeable when it comes to everything horror. And if you're going to have the very, very first horror convention that's housed at a Halloween attraction, that is a haunted Western town, no less, who else are you going to get but Joe Bob Briggs? I mean,
and you're actually, you were actually, I heard that you were a historian there. Was it last year when you decided, when you got the idea to actually turn this into a convention, which, by the way, is such an incredible idea. That is just, I am literally crying that I cannot make it to this. I heard you were going to have the Headless Horseman come through, and I'm heartbroken that I'm gonna be looking for photos, because that is one of my ultimate dreams, is to get to see something like that.
Yeah, I mean, this is really going to kind of be the epicenter of everything Halloween this year. I was there shooting a TV special with a horror icon, Dan Roebuck, of all people. He was doing a special on Wild West City, and I was there kind of as a historian, because I grew up going to Wild West City. I had my 5th birthday party there back in 1912, and it was just we were sitting around, and as night fell, it became so incredibly eerie and spooky without having to work at it. I mean, a perfect replica of 1880s Carson City. And when night fell and the big full moon was over the town, I was like, wow, this place is scary. And I said, I love horror conventions. It's one of my favorite things to do as a fan and as somebody who goes and signs at them. And I've been to probably close to 100 now in my life. And wow. I said, it would be really cool to do something like a horror convention at a Halloween attraction. I don't think it's, I've done research since then, and it's never been done where it's a full-scale horror convention at a Halloween attraction. So, not only do you get to meet celebrities and go to the cool vendors that are usually at horror conventions, you get film screenings like you do at horror conventions, but not in a big ballroom or in a theater. You get them under the stars in a haunted cemetery. We have a steam train ride that goes through the woods of New Jersey that's going to be haunted. We have zombie can dancers and monster cowboys, and putting it together since May 5th. And every time I go to the park to, we orchestrate something or work on a show or do a commercial for it, I'm like a kid in the candy store. I can't wait for the event because it's just, everything about it's cool. Everything about it.
And I heard you're going to be actually screening, like Night of the Living Dead is going to be one of the movies that you're going to be screening.
Yeah, we're going to screen Night of the Living Dead in October in a haunted graveyard. I mean, what else could you ask for? And House on Haunted Hill, which is a great Vincent Price film, we're going to screen. And Stephen Mena's new film. I don't know if you guys ever seen the Malevolence or Bereavement series. It's a really beloved horror series that Stephen Mena, a great writer and director, put out. The new one comes out 3 days before the show, Malevolence 3, and yours truly has a part in it. So
nice.
I play FBI Agent Smith, so when you see the movie, you could make fun of me like I do. And we're going to screen that under the stars, the Haunted Graveyard too. So that's really exciting.
Oh my God! I'm heartbroken. Joe, pay for me to go there.
You're right. Alaska to.
Alaska to
I don't think that's in the budget yet. David, what we do on the show, we kind of do something a little unique. We have people in the audience that ask questions and have comments, and we actually pull them up on screen. I fell a little behind, so I do apologize. But Kelly Ellison is showing you some mad love.
Thank you, Kelly.
And when we were discussing where we're all located, Sam Munster, she's in Toronto. So
nice.
That's
hello,
cool.
Toronto. Come on down to the Weekend of Fear. It's not that far of a drive.
Exactly.
And there's nothing cooler than New Jersey horror stuff in October. New Jersey is like, the epicenter of everything horror.
There you go.
We'll take pictures. Try.
Let's see. We've got Joe saying his room is booked and that he cannot wait.
Oh, Joe. Joe is awesome. Joe, I can't wait to see you at the Weekend of Fear. Joe came out to the first 2 Weekend of Fears and is a great guy and an incredibly knowledgeable horror guy. So it'll be awesome to see him.
And we got Scott Riley. I hope Mark Thompson joins us.
Okay.
I
hope Mark Thompson joins us too.
So that's some of the comments that I was looking over. Just figured I'd throw those out there. We love to include the audience, absolutely. So I am going to pull up a picture now, and I don't know how well everybody's going to be able to see it, but I am just flabbergasted by the guests you were able to obtain.
And we might actually be announcing 1 or 2 more before the show comes out. All the guests are phenomenal, but one that's extremely intriguing to people who do horror convention is John McNaughton, who's a legendary horror film director. He directed the iconic Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer and was one of the original masters of horror on the, I think it was Showtime show. And we are honored that we are the very, very first convention that Mr. McNaughton will be attending. So, yep. So if you want to come out and meet a iconic film director, John McNaughton will be with us. Brad Laree, of course, who was Michael Myers from Halloween Resurrection, will be there. And he was the star of Mr. Hush and is just a great guy. He's one of the harder Michael Myers autographs to get because he doesn't do very many shows. So that's the weekend that the new Halloween film comes out. That Friday night. And if you want to come out and meet the Michael Myers who actually killed Laurie Strode, if you want to believe like real Halloween law instead of whatever they're making up this time, come out and meet him. We have Xander from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Nicholas Brendan. Guy is, I've been to many shows with him and he's extremely, extremely popular. And all he does is hug women all night. I'm very jealous. Yep, he was in Criminal Minds and Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Kitchen Confidential. He has an amazing, amazing career, and he'll be there. And we have Dahlia Lagault, who was Francine from The Walking Dead. So she'll be there, and Stephen Mena from Malevolence will be there, and Stephen Jeffries from Fright Night, and Jeremy Ambler from The Walking Dead. I mean, it's just an amazing group of horror icons, both old and new. Of course, my dearest friend, the gentleman who will be co-starring with me in Wit's End, Scott Schiaffo, who will be there from Clerks and Vulgar. Yeah, the Truly's Gum guy. He was, I think, one of the guys who actually steals the movie. And my dear friend Brian O'Halloran, who was also starring in Wit's End, the star of Clerks. He was originally supposed to come, but he got a gig in England. So I was like, didn't hold him to it. Of course, anytime anybody has the opportunity to go to England, I said, silly, well, you'll come to next year's Weekend of Fear. And that's something that I hope. I hope that this Weekend of Fear at Wild West City is an amazing success, and that we can continue to do a great Halloween/horror convention event in the future.
And you've had incredible guests in the past as well. I heard Betsy Palmer. It was one of Weekend of Fear. It was actually, was it one of her last cons or the last con that she was
Sadly,
at?
it was Betsy Palmer's last con she ever did was the Weekend of Fear Part 1. And the first 2 weekends of Fear, we had over 70 guests. Fred the Hammer Williamson, Tom Savini, Kane Hodder, Betsy Palmer, James Tolkien, Joan Severance. I mean, the list is endless. But the way Wild West City is configured, it's little storefronts down a western town, and then one building that has any size, and it's called the Golden Nugget, and that's where the saloon and the bar and everything is. So it really is not a venue that's set up to have like 30 celebrities. So I cut it down to 15 this time, and it's just unbelievable to be. You could take your kids trick or treating on Sunday. You could be watching haunted cowboy and monster and zombie shows. You could ride a haunted steam train. You could watch the Headless Horseman go by. You could watch the All-Star Jam where guys like Scott Schiaffo and Kevin Van Henrik from Basket Case are going to be jamming in concert. And then you can go and hang out with the stars in a Golden Nugget. It's like, it's a nonstop from the beginning of the day to the end of the day type of thing. And I love conventions, don't get me wrong. But when you do them in hotels, I always felt as a fan, 2, 3, maybe 4 hours, you get to meet the celebrities you wish to meet. You get to look at the vendor rooms and meet the vendors that you wanted to see. And then it's kind of like, okay, it's time to roll. But I think with a venue like this, where you have so many activities going on, so many things that are Halloween centric and horror centric going on, that you can just go there and make an entire day of it. And you could go and hang out with the celebrities. And then at the end of the day, you can meet them all at an old Western saloon. I mean, how cool is that?
That is incredible. That is such a brilliant idea. When I heard about it, my heart sunk because I wanted to go so bad. I mean, that is so brilliant. And the fact that you don't have that claustrophobic feeling either. A lot of the times a lot of those horror conventions, they take place in like the smaller conference rooms, stuff like that. So, when you got shoulder to shoulder, people and you're waiting in the one particular line for hours on end, here to be able, to have so much, room to go and so much things to do and see, especially for people who bring their kids. There's so much more.
Yeah, you got 45 acres to roam around on. You got, it's funny because I'm afraid that I won't be doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'll be on the haunted steam train ride over and over again. They'll be like throwing me off, probably out trick or treating. Like, I'm looking to go more as a fan than as the guy who's running it. Because I want to go and like watch the guys do the concert. I haven't even seen. They've been working on the Headless Horseman setup now for like 6 weeks, and I can't wait to see the final product on that. And the whole town, they start decorating this Tuesday because it's the last weekend that they're open for regular hours. And knowing what's going into that park, I just can't wait. I mean, I'm more excited as someone who's just going to attend than as the buffoon who's running the show.
I would just follow the Headless Horseman around the entire time. I would just be in awe, just staring the whole time. That is so cool.
So that actually brings up a valid question. Do you actually get to enjoy any of that weekend, or is it all go, go, go?
Sadly, it usually is all go, go, but this time I will not let it be. I'm going to enjoy this one to the fullest because I'm doing this more as a fan than I am for any other reason. If sadly it winds up just being me and the celebrities in the park, that's fine, man. I'm going to have a good time because this is something that's so ridiculously cool that, I'm going to have a good time. So I'm looking forward to hot apple cider, the fall foliage, a steam train riding through an old rickety wooden bridge with zombies, cowboy monsters on the other side, and hanging out with Joe Bob Briggs and Evil Ed and Michael Myers and everything that's Halloween and horror. Just, it's like dying and going to Halloween horror heaven.
That is so cool. I geeked out alone in Mr. Hushwood in the very beginning when Brad is talking about Halloween, like the first opening scene. I was like, Brad Lorry's talking about Halloween. I was geeking out so bad. So that had me right there. Brad Lorry was
it's one of my favorite parts Halloween. Of the film. One of my favorite parts of the film is on Halloween night when trick-or-treaters are just coming to the house, because it's such an atmospheric feel of it being Halloween. We shot that in April. But it has, the right vibe. So thank you. I'm very glad that you like the movie.
I love the camera angles that you used as the doors opening and closing. Those camera angles were just really cool. It was really unique. You don't see that very often.
Thank you. We shot that when there was a Red camera came out about a year before, and it was before it was so widely used. So it was like the state-of-the-art technology in the hands of independent filmmakers. So that's why the film has such an incredible look to it. We were able to, get some of the greatest lighting guys and sound techs and everybody involved. And it was a labor of love. But at the end of the day, we're all very proud of, the movie we made.
Oh, yeah. And in the sound, too. The sound in that movie, that drill, I'm probably going to have nightmares for the rest of my life. That was horrible. And anybody who heard that, I guarantee you everyone's skin crawled when they heard that. That was everyone knows that sound, and it's ugh. But throughout the whole movie, the sound effects and music through the whole movie, I mean, you couldn't have fit it more perfectly for each scene. It was just amazingly.
What's the greatest thing about being a filmmaker is like you're married to a film and you watch it over and over again for like the course of a year through editing and through sound mixing and through all stages. And then when I sat in a packed theater at the Hollywood Theater and watched it with an entire group of people who reacted to the film. And there's absolutely nothing more invigorating than that. And another thing that was really cool is I was driving my family down to Florida for vacation at Disney. And we stopped in Fayetteville, North Carolina, because I was stopped to sleep for the evening. And my wife and daughter went to bed, but I was wired from driving for like 14 hours. So I walked from the hotel that we pulled over into the Walmart that was right next to it. And in the Walmart at like 2:30 in the morning, it was one of those 24-hour supercenters. They were just assembling the display, the end cap for Mr. Hush. And I was like, wow. I mean, people are seeing this movie outside of, my block, so I thought that was pretty awesome.
I would have just stood there, and every time somebody walked up, like, this is mine. This is mine.
I did that when I was like in FYE or like stores, and people just look at me like, yeah, right. And I was like, okay. But yeah. They
probably went home and Googled it, and were like, damn. And you actually also did the Middle Village? I want to say
Middle Village was a very, very loving documentary about the town I grew up in, Middle Village, which is in Queens. And that movie did surprisingly well for a small documentary about a small town outside of New York City. But Middle Village just kind of serves as the placeholder for everybody's town or every town. It's really a movie about growing up in a simpler time when you would go out and ride your bicycle and play stickball and come home. You knew you had to come home when the streetlights came on. The stuff that you cannot relate to, but maybe Joe can.
No.
And things that are totally different than what people are used to today. And what was really cool about that film is that Jim Kenney, who's a writer for the New York Times, put that in his top 15 films of 2015.
Wow, that is so cool. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. That is really cool. I have not yet gotten to see that one, so I will definitely have to look that up. Can you tell us any more about Wit's End? I don't want to. I'm sure you probably can't spoil too much. But.
Wit's End. Can you guys hear me? Because I'm having a problem with my battery.
I can hear you just fine. Joe, can you hear him?
Can you see me?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can.
We're getting a little bit of ghosting, but other than that, no, we can hear you fine on this end.
If for some reason I get disconnected, I will try on another device to check back in with you guys right away. Wits End is a film about a loving father who his wife and daughter head off to a wedding event in Florida, a baby shower, and he stays home. And while he's home, he sneaks up to their cabin upstate to retrieve their presents for Valentine's Day. As he's going up to his cabin up in the woods, he gets diverted because a road is closed to a road that he's not familiar with. He runs out of gas. He goes to sleep, and overnight it snows 4.5 feet of snow that he wasn't aware of. So he's kind of marooned.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
He wakes up and it's like a story of survival. And Brian O'Halloran from Clerks plays my brother. And it's just a really cool flick.
Oh man, I cannot wait. That is going to be so cool.
I was curious if you knew when it was going to be released, video on demand, DVD, or
no, it's going
theater?
to be theatrically. It's going to be in somewhere between 200 and 500 theaters in late November.
Man, I hope Anchorage is one of them. I will drive to Anchorage.
I'll make sure I send you a Blu-ray.
Oh, you're amazing. Thank you so much. I'm so excited.
Have you guys seen the trailer to that film yet?
No, I have not.
It's on, the only thing that's up so far is a viral page on Facebook called the Wits End the Movie page, and they have a trailer up, so you can check it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Oh man, I'm so excited. Like, I'm a huge fan, so I'm going to geek out. I can't wait.
I will actually get that link.
And is there any actors that you haven't got a chance to work with yet that you was kind of, people you would really like to work with during your career?
You know what's really strange? I'm sure directors would say, "Oh yeah, I'd love to work with like Tom Hiddleston or Benedict Cumberbatch or somebody who's popular today." I'm very blessed, and like I loved 80s films, and I grew up in the 80s, and I always dreamt of working with Stephen Jeffries. Oddly enough, I thought Evil Ed was like the coolest character ever, and I was a big Lost Boys fan. And I got to work with Brooke McCarter on a film called Emerging Past, who's one of the original Lost Boys. So I'm very blessed to have like kind of seeked out the people who I idolized and have been able to work with. There are people who have passed away, like Donald Pleasance. I would have dreamt of working with, and Roddy McDowell, who is a friend of mine who I worked with when he was touring his book on photographs, but I was not in film at that point yet. Those would probably be the only two who are deceased who I would, really have loved to have worked with. But nobody today, that I would go nuts with. Maybe like Tom Holland, the director, or John
I love
Carpenter,
Tom
the director.
Holland.
Yep.
Fright Night again. It's just incredible.
I like to work with Chris Sarandon. I mean, he's had an amazing career. When you really think about it, he was Jerry Dandridge in Fright Night. He's Jack Skellington. He's was it King Humperdinck? Is that what his name was in The Princess Bride?
Oh yeah.
He's had an amazing career, and I would be honored to work with him. But I'm all about just making a good film. Whoever makes that possible is who I'd like to work with.
Well, geez, you've already accomplished it. I mean, that must have been really incredible to be on set with, Michael Myers and, Jason Bourne.
I think it's the only film. I think it's the only film that has a Michael Myers actor and a Jason Voorhees actor, where they act, opposite each other. So I think that was pretty cool.
That was really.
There's a film called Darkness Waits by a great director named Libby McDermott. She's an unbelievable filmmaker. And Scott Schiaffo and I are in that film together. It comes out later this year. And I'm honored because it's actually the great Conrad Brooks' last film that he made before he passed away. So that's pretty cool. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
I'm trying to see what pictures you got behind you. You got like a little, was that Dawn of the Dead?
Yeah, I got Dawn of the Dead. I love, I got a lot of, I've gone to two cons. I'm going to be going to a whole lot more. I'm going to Days of the Dead Chicago this November. But I've got a lot of Kane Hodder posters. I'm a huge Kane Hodder fan. And I got the chance to meet Tom Savini this last July, which was incredible, and Tyler Mane and Uri Mihailov. Yeah,
Kane's a great guy. He was at my last Weekend of Fear, and we're dear friends. And I can't wait to work with him again. He's a good guy.
he was incredible. He was the reason that I flew down there. The main reason I saved up all that money and made the trek, and he was absolutely incredible. I didn't meet anybody that when I was there that didn't completely blow my mind. And it just makes me love horror that much more when you get to meet somebody that you idolize, and then they're so much cooler than you could imagine in person. They're so nice. It's amazing.
And it's equally heartbreaking when you meet somebody who you really, really dig and they're not nice, which sadly has happened to me on occasion.
Oh no! Oh man! So far, I've avoided that. I'm kind of dreading the day. Especially, coming all the way from Alaska. I think the moments that I get to meet somebody that I've come so far to meet and then have them be rude will probably devastate me.
Now, is 30 Days of Night a big film over there in Alaska?
Huge. That was a huge film up here. Yeah, anything like that. We don't get a lot. Like, we don't have a lot of. I'm trying so hard. I would love to have a con come up here because we just don't. There's not a lot that happens up here, but there's so many fans. I mean, there's a lot of. I mean, that's what we do all winter long. It's dark and dreary and cold, and it's -30 where I live, and I live in a warm part of Alaska. So we just watch your movies and
there you go. Maybe
drink
instead
hot
of the Weekend of Fear being in a western town next, we'll do it around igloos, perhaps. It'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, do it. Oh my gosh, you'd have a following. There'd be people there. We need stuff like that up here. That is amazing. That is so incredible. I wish so much that I could have made it down for that. I'm so jealous. I'm gonna be, like I said, I'm just gonna be watching online for every single photo that pops up.
I mean, this may sound corny, but I really just hope people come out and enjoy the season, enjoy Halloween, enjoy everything that makes the fall special, enjoy each other, enjoy the horror culture and genre. And it's really a show that's not about photo ops and all of the trappings of conventions that are unsavory. It's really a convention about enjoying all the things that we are passionate about. I mean, I became passionate of horror films because my brother Bob, who I looked up to, when I was little, there was only believe it or not, we only had 5 channels of TV when I was a kid. And every Halloween, the night before Halloween, the local PBS channel, Channel 13 in New York City, would play all the Universal horror movies for 12 hours straight. Start with Frankenstein and then go to Dracula and Bride of Dracula. Not Bride of Dracula, Bride of Frankenstein. Frankenstein meets the Wolfman, all the great Universal horror films. And there was a little 5-year-old Dave eating popcorn and an unbelievable passion for horror films and for trick-or-treating. And where I grew up, it was kind of like what you would imagine Pleasantville to be. It was just a great small town that was in the shadows of the biggest city in the world. And that's what made it so cool. And I loved Halloween so much, and I loved horror films, and this is really just that passion and desire to do something, that's never been done before, something that's true and honest. And I hope everybody comes out and just has a good time. I mean, I actually turned down celebrities who want to come to the show because they are in it for the wrong reasons, and they want to monetize. Hey, you want to shake my hand? It's $27.50. I don't like that kind of thing. And everybody who's coming to the show, A, loves their fans, and B, is great with their fans and is kind with their fans. So I don't have to sit in my celebrity robe and hope that somebody is behaving properly or isn't frowning for every picture. I mean, I see celebrities who charge like $250 to take a picture with them, and they're sitting there with a frown on their face. Or like one celebrity I seen, he had a clicker in his hand, like he was just like next. And I find that if you're going to be that way with your fans, just just don't do the show. And I prefer people who are kind to their fans, and luckily, a lot of people are. A lot of the people are very good with their fans. I'm trying to read what Sam says. Well, thank you, Sam. I appreciate the kind words.
I kind of remember those days on Long Island. I'm originally from Huntington Harbor on Long Island, so I can somewhat remember those days with 5 channels. I'm not gonna say 5, maybe 8 channels, 9.
We probably had the same ones: 2, 4, 5, 7, 9, and 11, and 13. Yeah,
exactly. I did. Okay. Yep. Just showed my age. But
you showed your age, Joe.
Right.
Hey, I'm a guy pushing 50. I think I look pretty good for a guy pushing 50.
Absolutely.
I would not have known.
It's the white beard that gives me away.
Yeah.
And the old man glasses. I mean, I was going to try to do the show without the glasses, but then I wouldn't see. You'd be like, I'd be like, huh, what did you say? And it would look, yeah. And,
I'm still trying to get trifocal contacts. Okay. But
you look like you got the whole newsman set up there. It looks really, really nice.
I appreciate that. So one thing that I'm very jealous of, I've been down in Florida for since 1984. Mm-hmm. I'd go back up to New York or the Carolinas to vacation, or Georgia, and obviously the trees changing and everything cooling off, and it's just a great experience. Down here in Florida, it's cliche, but we have the license plates that change colors down here, not the leaves or anything, or the palm tree fronds. So, but I'm very envious of you being able to do that, and like Danny, I'm jealous that I can't actually attend, but I'm looking forward to pictures and updates and the whole 9 yards. Are you going to have any live feeds going on?
Not that I'm aware of right now. If anybody who's watching this wants to come out and do a live feed, you're more than welcome. One of the things that I'm extremely honored and humbled about is that Fangoria reached out to us and made us one of the very, very few, I think there's less than a handful of shows every year that are officially Fangoria approved. And now with the triumphant return of Fangoria magazine this October, being a Fangoria approved show was quite an honor, and an honor we won't take lightly. We're going to do an amazing, amazing event.
Do me a favor, see if you can read that.
Zing! Mr. Schiaffo. Is he coming on?
If he wants, I could send him a link. If he wants to come on, I'd be more than happy to have him on.
Mr. Schiaffo, it's if you can, come on. We'd love to have you. And you know what's amazing about Scott? He is so humble for somebody who's so ridiculously talented. I don't know if you saw on the Weekend of Fear Facebook page, I just posted Scott doing a guitar solo. I think it's called Toccata Number 5, the classical music. That was terrible, but he is an amazing guitar player. What's up, Mr. Schiaffo? Get your goofy mug on here so that we can make fun of each other. It'd be funny. And
I'm going to bow out. I'm going to try to send him a link and see if he could get on here real fast, if you don't mind. So, guys, bear with me for a moment.
Sure. Wow, that was like Bewitched. He just like, poof.
That is so cool.
So let me ask you something. How old of a lady? Oh, I shouldn't ask you that question. How young of a lady? Are you in your 20s? You look like a very young lady.
I'm almost 27. I turned 27 this month.
Oh, wow. I thought you were just a college girl. You look very young.
Oh, thank you. That trust me, when you're nearing 30, that starts to, I take that to heart.
I have shirts that are 30 years old, so I mean, it's nothing. Don't worry, I'm not pulling like a Brett Kavanaugh move on you or anything. I was just asking.
Oh no, that's awesome. That's hysterical.
Oh, so what do you think? Yeah. What do you think the odds of Mr. Schiaffo joining us are?
I'm hoping. I'm a fan, so I'm really hoping that we can get him on here. I'm a huge, oh my gosh, pretty much Kevin Smith. Who isn't though? Like
Right.
Kevin Smith, all of his stuff, Mallrats and Clerks and all that. That's just, I love it.
Yes, he has built quite a empire in that View Askew universe. Uh, and almost everybody he's ever chosen to work with is amazingly talented. Scott is mind-numbingly talented as an actor. His comedic timing is unparalleled. We do a scene in The New Wits End that is uproariously funny. Brian plays my brother, and Scott plays a friend of ours, and we kind of are goofing on him, but his timing just sets up for the whole scene to play. He's just an amazing actor and a great musician and a good friend. He's a good guy. Did you ever see Vulgar?
I don't think so. I didn't.
That's Brian O'Halloran is the star of Vulgar, and Scott's in it. And it was a Kevin Smith produced movie, but it was directed by Brian Johnson, who is the tall, bearded gentleman from the Comic Book Man.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh, that is so cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah, it's a cool movie.
Write it down.
It's an incredibly spooky movie. Oh, he's back!
I've seen Vulgar and multiple times, and I don't know if you can see. There's artwork for Clerks behind me. It's kind of small. It's not what you would consider regular Clerks artwork, but it's them playing hockey on top of the building and Kevin Smith. And below it says, I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Yeah.
But I sent Scott a PM. Oh, he's on the road right now.
Oh.
He's saying it's my not so smartphone. If he's on the road, unfortunately.
Both of us are very similar in that we both have like flip phones from 1912. So I'm borrowing my daughter's iThingy here to do this tonight. So.
And guys, I got to do something that I've never done before, and it's actually an honor because in the over a year we've had this show, my mother never joined us. Hi, Mom. Sorry.
Hi,
Appreciate
Carol.
you joining us. Sorry again, over a year in broadcasting, and so she.
I just have that effect on women. Every time I'm
right?
on, women just they come clamoring.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm looking at our time, and we're about to hit the hour mark, and that's usually when we start wrapping things up.
Okay.
Still want to delve in a little more of whatever you want to get out about Mr. Hush Weekend of Fear, and also where we can find you on social media.
Yes. Okay. On social media, Mr. Hush has Mr. Hush the movie on Facebook. On Facebook, there's the David Lee Madison page for David Lee Madison director. On Twitter.
Oh shoot, David, hold on. David, I hit the magic genie button on you instead of me. That was a complete mistake. I apologize. So that's really embarrassing.
I have no idea what happened, so don't worry.
I dropped you out mid-sentence, and it was like a rookie mistake, and I'm turning beet red right now, to be honest.
It's not like I ever said anything important, so don't worry about it.
So if you can please continue with where we can find you on social media. I just bought
a new hat. Can I put my snazzy new hat on?
Absolutely.
Okay. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
We have an exclusive of David's hat. This is awesome.
Yes. I was looking for that red Reddington look. Does it work for me or no?
Absolutely.
There you go. Because, my mother-in-law says I have a giant head. And it's probably one of the nicest things she's ever said to me, to be honest with you. But I'm trying to, as I'm getting older now, I'm trying to hide my giant head with hats. And this is the first one I went for, but I don't know, now looking at it in your camera, I kind of look like a mook, so I'm going to take it off.
I love that he said mook.
Brian, actually the star of Clerks, Brian is probably my dearest friend and actually lives, a couple blocks away from me. So he's a great guy. And he's going to be in Wits End with me and Scott. So look for that. And he's got a whole bunch of cool stuff going on too. So maybe you should have him on your show.
I agree 100%. And what about when you guys get closer to releasing that, we have all three of you on the show and promote it?
That sounds great. Weekend of Fear, October 19th through the 21st at Wild West City in Stanhope, New Jersey. If you love Halloween, or you love horror, or you love the Old West, if you love cowboys or cowgirls, or can dancers, or zombies, or werewolves, or vampires, or train rides, or haunted train rides, or movies in graveyards, it's the event for you. All right, it's just everything that celebrates horror and Halloween at one place. Great iconic horror stars like Evil Ed and Michael Myers and Joe Bob Briggs and John McNaughton, the great directors, coming out. I mean, it's just really just a cavalcade of great horror talent, all assembled in an old western town, tricked out for Halloween. So this is it. If you love Halloween, if you love Halloween attractions, if you love haunts, if you love conventions, if you'd love to come out in the fall in your snazzy fall sweater, if you love hot apple cider, if you love watching the fall foliage, if you like looking at monsters, this is all one-stop shopping for you.
All right. And
And I want to apologize for dropping my iPhone in the middle of your show. Tremendously unprofessional. And just for that very reason, I'm going to put myself in the corner when this is over. And I ain't going to let myself out until tomorrow morning.
One of the coolest things is that he actually has a bunch of horror posters behind him. So, he's actually sincere about being a horror fan.
Oh, no. I mean, if you want to take it,
go ahead.
This is my office. We got... I don't know if you could see that. It's like Freddy versus Jason and H2O and the original. And there's all autographs. And there's Kane Hodder and Steve Dash up there with my daughter.
Heck yeah!
Wow.
There's Army of Darkness poster over there. That's where I do my editing. And the Lost Boys. And this room is really cool. I mean, a who's who of horror people have come up to my house in Pennsylvania and hung out with me. Brad Lurie has been here. Kane Hodder has been here. Stephen Jeffries has been here. As I said, Brian lives right down the road. My dear friend Huey Lewis. So it's like everything that's kind of cool happens up here in the woods of Pennsylvania.
I'm so jealous. That is amazing. I feel so honored to have just got to take a peek. That is so cool.
It's a little messy right now. I apologize, but I am a guy, so I got all my guy stuff laying around.
Well, what's actually cool is besides Kane in our second episode, you're only the second person who is willing to show us what's going on in their office and all their cool stuff. So that was really awesome.
Well, when I dropped the thing earlier, it was because my wife was watching in the other room, and she's like, "You're going off, you moron! Plug it in." So I plugged it in, and I can't move around very far because it's just a little tiny little wire here that's got it plugged in. But I would have taken you on a tour of the other side has the original Fright Night posters, Bruce Campbell, like all that cool stuff. I don't know if you could see that.
Oh yeah.
The original Fright Night 2 poster, which is almost impossible to get, signed by Tommy Lee Wallace, the cat who directed it. So yeah, I am the real deal when it comes to being a horror fan. A lot of people think I'm a schlocky guy, but no, I'm the real deal when it comes to horror. I just like having fun with everything. I just don't see horror having to be sex and violence and gore. I like horror to be monsters and vampires and werewolves and stuff like that. One time a person said to me, does it bother you that you made a horror film? Does it bother you that you left that kind of impact on society? And I looked him dead in the eye and I said, well, the day that a vampire kills somebody, you could call me and yell at me. Because Mr. Hush is a vampire. He's not he's not a slasher. He's not Jeffrey Dahmer. So I will take full responsibility for the first mass killings done by actual vampires.
The influence.
The terrible influence on society that I've left behind.
Incredible makeup effects, by the way. At the end of that, I was blown away by the makeup effects. I was like, wow, that was really incredible.
Yeah, what we were doing there is that one of my favorite films was I'm having a total brain fart. Maybe you can help me. The David Soul made-for-TV vampire movie from 1979.
Oh,
Salem's Lot.
Yes, Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
I was inspired by Salem's Lot. And
scared the crap out of me.
Oh, yeah. When his friend came back and was tapping on the glass in the middle of the night.
Yeah, on the second floor.
I was like 8 years old, and I crapped my pants right there. I was like, I'm done. But you know what's really amazing about that movie? Is that we were watching it first run in New York City back in whenever it came out, like 77, me and my brother Bob. And right when I think James Mason is plunging the stake into the vampire's heart, it cut to a special report about the garbage strike. And me and my brother, back then, when you cut to a special report, however long the special report was, that's where they would pick up the movie that you were watching. And the special report literally was like 7 minutes long, and Salem's Lot came back on, and the credits were running, and me and my brother just like wept like babies because there was no way to see it back then. It was that was it. That was your shot. So I had to wait for like 3 years till it was replayed again to see the ending. So
right.
That would kill someone from my
Koch.
That's when a VCR was $1,200. And
right. It was actually a beta.
Oh, beta. Yeah.
I don't even know what that was. I remember. I felt old because I remember when we had to rewind. It was like trying to rewind.
Rewind.
Or we get charged.
We had console TVs with dials and the volume button, and we were the remotes. Rewind. We didn't have rewind.
Do you remember the famous TV video switch on the back so that you could play video games?
Yes. The little slide bar.
Yes, yeah.
Absolutely.
And we didn't have cable. We had something called WHT, Wometco Home Theater, where you'd put a box like the size of a shoebox on top of your TV, and the sound would come out of it because it would come through an antenna.
No kidding. I'm not familiar with that one. That's new by me.
That's back when we would take 2 sticks to start fires.
That is awesome. I'm just going to look over the comments real fast, and Sam is having a blast. She's loving the conversation, and she's laughing so hard she's crying. So,
well, I hope Sam comes out to the Weekend of Fear because it's going to be an amazing show. So,
Go
come
see
out and
it,
say
Sam.
hello.
absolutely, I'm going to bring that up really big. Mr. Hush, Weekend of Fear, October 19th through 21st.
Fangoria approved.
Gloria approved.
And apparently family approved also?
We have a slogan: when the sun goes down, the fear goes up.
Okay.
So during the daytime hours, we're trying to make it as kid-friendly as possible. But you also have to realize it is a Halloween attraction. The cowboys are going to be dressed up like zombies and monsters and such. They're not going to scare children. They're not going to touch children. But please, be advised that like any Halloween attraction, like if you were going to a Six Flag haunt or something, you have to take into account that it is a Halloween attraction. So there's, scary props and stuff around. But I would say it's definitely PG-13. And on the Sunday, we are doing where kids get to go trick-or-treating in an old Western town. I mean, I'm sold on that alone. I mean, I would have been there in a heartbeat.
That's
a safe environment for parents to take their kids out to go trick-or-treating. And they go from like the blacksmith to the bank to the jail to the post office, to all the old 1880s buildings, to what's cool for the vendors is that the vendors it's not like a regular hotel show where they're all in a hotel in a giant ballroom. They each get their own storefront. So, yeah,
cool.
Yeah. So they're going to be like handing out the trick-or-treats to the kids. So it's really just going to be wicked cool. And at night, when the night falls, just being in the park is scary for adults. but we have a few things in store for the adults to get them in the right Halloween and holiday spirit. And you know what's also cool is 2 saloons in Wild West City. So if you want to,
I was just going to ask about that. So there is
yeah, good old fashioned ones with those like swinging cowboy doors. Yeah, you can come in and make sure that you don't bop the person behind you because those things. But yeah, you can go in there and they have the brass iron spittoons on the end, and you can drink a beer and hock a loogie, whatever makes you happy.
That is awesome.
I mean, those big old wooden bars that look like they were hand carved out of like 7-foot thick trees. It's just really, really. Even if you don't come to the Weekend of Fear, come out and check out Wild West City. At least once. It's something that should be on everybody's bucket list. It's such a cool attraction.
You see, those swinging doors, they kind of scare me. I'm a large guy, so I'm afraid I'm going to like push them open and walk through. They're going to swing back out, and I'm going to go flying. No,
they're very funny. They you push them in and they swing out, but then they stop in the middle somehow. It's like it's cowboy magic.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty
it's
cool.
Funny because I'm a shade over 6'7", and the doors, all the ceilings in buildings that were like 1880s aren't very high. So
so they're like 5'10", you're 6'7", and you're hitting your head constantly.
But it's the Golden Nugget, the main room where all the celebrities are in, that has a saloon and the restaurant where you eat, is just a really beautiful place. And if you come to this, wanting a Halloween attraction and a haunt and a horror convention, you'll be very happy. It's just going to be a lot of fun.
It sounds like it's going to be a blast. And again, I'm like, Florida, work. Damn it.
No, I mean, if anybody has a good excuse for not coming, it's YouTube with being in Alaska and Florida. But
huge fans regardless. Just realize that. And I've watched some of the YouTube videos going through some of the shows or the attractions, and I mean, very impressive. The celebrities and everybody. My mind was blown.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool. I mean, the very first video that announced the event that me and Brian did was seen by when the last checked, was seen by over 46,000 people virally. So, and that's without where you pay to let people see it. That was just, organic. So it's kind of taken a life of its own. We have people who have purchased tickets already from all 5 boroughs, which is, an hour and a half away. We've had people who purchased tickets in West Virginia and Ohio, which are, quite far away. New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania is like the focus area. But if, wherever you want to come from, I mean, people travel down to Florida to go to Universal Horror Nights. No reason why they shouldn't come up to the Weekend of Fear. Blairstown, New Jersey is the neighboring town, and you can go and see where all the original Friday the 13th was shot, like the diner and those cool catacomb buildings and Camp Crystal Lake and the cemetery. So, I mean, you could literally make a weekend of doing all the cool Halloween stuff, the Weekend of Fear and Blairstown and the pumpkin patches that are right around Stanhope. And just give yourself the ultimate Halloween weekend.
You need to get that map on your website.
I actually have a commercial that hasn't gone out yet where I'm saying, hey, I'm in Stanhope, and you can come out to the Weekend of Fear, and 15 minutes away is Blairstown, and you can come out and see all the cool Friday the 13th stuff. Have you ever been to Blairstown?
I have not, no.
It's wicked cool. It really is.
But I really do want to go there now. I may have to ruin some movie magic. Well, not movie magic, but website magic. So, David, are you the Grim Reaper?
Oh, Mr. Fear?
Yes.
No, that guy's a much better actor than I am. He's a lot better looking, too. You know what? Oddly enough, Mr. Fear was at Wildwood City 2 weekends ago to greet people who were coming to buy tickets, and people were actually giddy to come and meet Mr. Fear. So, must be doing something right.
Exactly.
That guy scares the crap out of me, though.
That is awesome.
Anytime you're near him, you could smell a lot of ham, though.
Danny,
Just gave me an idea. Maybe there'll be a Mr. Fear movie.
there you go. That'd be or a crossover.
There you go. Mr. Fear versus Mr. Hush.
Hey,
Oh.
hey,
It sounds like something the Sci-Fi Channel would buy. Sharknado 26, followed by Mr. Fear versus Mr. Hush.
You just need like a CGI crocodile somewhere in there.
There you go. At the end, they're both battling, and when one's about to win, a giant shark will come out from from the pavement, oddly enough, and eat them both.
Well, wait a minute. That was House Shark, I think.
Oh, there you go. Do you remember Saturday Night Live when the shark used to come and ring the doorbell? Land Shark?
That was a long time ago.
Yes.
Danny's like,
No, I love like SNL, like 90s, well, mostly 90s SNL, like, you know, a lot of like the Adam Sandler, you know, that kind of stuff I grew up in. But my mom was a huge fan for Saturday Night Live from the 80s. So I've seen a lot like the, you know, No Coke, Pepsi, you know, Belushi, all that stuff. So I do
Belushi,
cheeseburger.
cheeseburger, No Coke, Pepsi.
Danny, we have time for you to ask one more question if you have one, ma'am. If you had to ask David anything else, which, I mean, he's been an awesome guest.
Well, thank you.
It's been great. Danny, do you have one last question for David?
Do you have anything else in the making after Wits End? Are you writing any more scripts?
Yes, I have a TV series that's going to either air on Shudder or Netflix called Disruption, which is a horror sci-fi show akin to Stranger Things, about a portal that's hidden in a small rural town, and a small town sheriff is the only thing that stands between this portal that unleashes all the terror that takes place on this earth and himself. So it's something that I'm really excited about. Yep.
Oh my god, I'm stoked.
Yep, you look for that next year.
That sounds amazing.
And that's it. Wits End, Disruption, Weekend of Fear, Darkness Waits, which is Libby McDermott's movie, Malevolence 3, which is Stephen Mena's movie, which comes out this October, where I play the handsome Agent Smith. And that's it. And really the most important thing I want to get out, I'll make this very brief, is that everybody please come out to the Weekend of Fear. Not because I care about a head count or anything. Please come out because it's everything that's pure about horror and horror conventions and Halloween and all the things that are right about the horror community and the genre. I mean, just come out and enjoy being out in makeup or in cosplay or doing the zombie walk or doing... I mean, we're doing a zombie walk around a haunted town. I mean, really? I mean, I was even beating around the idea of whoever wins the costume contest at the zombie walk would get to have a featured role in my next film. So,
Wow.
So I really want people to come out and enjoy the zombie walk, enjoy the trick or treating and the jam and the Headless Horseman and the cowboy shows, and just come out and enjoy the genre in its purest form and not in its commercial form.
I kind of was giggling because you were saying, or you were all the cool things that you're working on, and you're like, oh man, yeah, and that's it. I'm like, that's it.
Well, it only takes me through I'm only like through next spring, so I might be working at a Wendy's after that. Who knows? Would you like fries with that, Joe?
I don't know. Where's the beef?
There you go.
I'll be coming there asking for autographs on the receipt. Please sign this.
Brian and Scott can teach me how to be clerks. Teach me how to. I can work at a movie.
At the movies, absolutely. And there is only one return. No, sorry.
And it's of the Jedi.
That's right. Exactly. All right.
You know, it's funny. I'm not a big Star Wars guy. I actually really can't stand Star Wars, to be honest with you. I'm a Star Trek guy.
Okay. I mean, there's usually a Trekkie or Star Wars. You usually choose between the two. There's not too many people that are rah-rah, so that's perfectly understandable.
Yeah, I look at Star Wars as Star Trek's off second cousin. Yeah. Something's just not right there.
Well, see, I felt the same way about Star Trek until the new movies came out. Actually, until the first two movies came out, I was digging them, and then the third movie came out, and I was just like, okay. But
on which one?
The Star Trek movies, the new movies.
Oh, okay.
The new generation.
You like the third one?
Not as much as I like the first two, to be honest. But I may have to give it a second look. But it something just irked me about it. I can't put my finger on it, to be honest.
Well, you weren't the only one in it. It was like the biggest flop of the three. But I didn't think it was a bad movie.
Fair enough.
The new one, if Tarantino does the fourth one, that's gonna be
holy
weird.
Crap, right?
Yeah, I can't even imagine that. But
well, yeah, I've seen the articles on that, and I mean, that would be definitely something interesting.
Absolutely.
Sam Jackson may be able to do the cross Jedi and
just think of that crossover of Star Trek and Star Wars. That would be like a $2 billion property, I bet.
Disney wouldn't know what to do with itself.
Yeah, it's just a matter of time before they buy everything.
They're going to rule the world, absolutely.
Yeah. In 2028, it'll be Disney's Weekend of Fear at Wild West City. And I'll be sitting somewhere on a beach with a margarita with a little umbrella sticking out of it. I sold my franchise for $12.
You gave away 99.999% of it.
Yes.
All right, guys, it has been a blast. We are going to wrap it up, and I'm still one of the most fun interviews we've had in quite a long time.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
David, again, we didn't really get the plugs out the way we should have because I kind of dropped you accidentally. So social media, where can we find you? Where can we find Mr. Hush, Weekend of Fear?
Well, Weekend of Fear is at mrhush.net. You could find me at David Lee Madison on Facebook, David Madison on Twitter. You could find Mr. Hush, the movie, on Facebook. You can find Middle Village, the movie, on Facebook. You can find Wits End, the movie, on Facebook. You can find Disruption, the TV show, on Facebook. And you can find me appearing at Dunkin' Donuts next Tuesday at the drive-through window, serving you your hot coffee and your crawlers. Because if I spend any more damn money on this Weekend of Fear, I'm going to be disowned by my family. And no, I mean, all kidding aside, it's going to be a great event, a great show, a great Halloween haunt and Halloween attraction, and come out and be a part of the first ever Halloween attraction and horror convention, because it's never been done like this before.
That is awesome. And I'm just checking again. Comments. Sam, you got to stop sending the hearts and everything, Sam. We know you love them.
Hey, Sam, I'll pay you later.
Checks in the mail. Wait till Weekend of Fear is gone. No. But anyway, again, thank you for joining us. It has been a blast. Running the banner right now, October 19th through the 21st. And Sam saying thanks, guys. So absolutely. David, we're going to wrap it up. If you could stick around for one moment. Danny, tell them what not to hit when I end the broadcast.
Yeah, the stop camera button. Don't close out your camera until he'll close everything down, and then we'll have a little chat, and then then we can hit stop camera.
Okay, I want to say one quick thing before you go.
Sure.
I want to thank both of you for being amazing hosts. The only way you can ever have a good, funny interaction is if everybody participates. You guys are really, really good at what you do. And anytime you want me or any of my friends on, just give me a holler. We'd be honored to do so.
And
Thank you.
it would be our honor as well. And everybody out there, Danny, I still got to look over at the name. Obscure and Unscripted, not Technical Defects. Do not go to Technical Defects. Obscure and Unscripted. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Danny, am I missing anything?
No, I think we're just Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
Oh, all right. Beautiful. Join us next week. We have a full month of awesome celebrity guests for Halloween. I'm just trying to think of who's next. Danny, do you know who's next week?
Rick McCollum is going to be next Monday from Hollywood Ghost Hunters. He's also an incredible stunt double. He's been in, he was a stuntman for Devil's Rejects and incredible movies that he's been in. And then after that, it's going to be David Howard Thornton, Art the Clown. So we got an incredible month ahead of us.
Oh, sweet.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us again, and we will see you next week.